Thank you for listening to Urbanistica podcast. As before, you maybe listened to the Hack for Sweden episode with Ann Molin and Carolina. They were talking about how to organize a hackathon and what is a hackathon from the organizer's point of view. But today, I have the winner of the hackathon, Hack the Crisis, and she is going to talk about the point of view of an hacker that participated in a crazy hackathon. Well, this was a hackathon called Hack the Crisis, and it's organized by Hack for Sweden, Open Hack, Agency for Digital Government, and the Swedish government. It was a crazy hackathon because there was more than 5,300 participators, hackers, more than 200 mentors. I was one of them. I'm super happy. And also more than 130 partners. It's a crazy 2 days of hacking the coronavirus and trying to save lives, communities, and businesses. Today, I have the pleasure to welcome Emelie, and she was the winner of Saving Businesses with her team. She's going to share with us the full story. So, welcome to Urbanistica podcast, Emelie.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you so much. I'm really honored. I'm so happy to meet you, and you just accepted my request. I'm so happy.
Yes. Yes. No, I was really happy that you reached out. I'm more than happy to talk about the whole experience with Hack the Crisis and yeah, what happened during this weekend. It still blows me away that we were so many people taking part and well trying to find different solutions to a problem that's really affecting Sweden and all of the world really. So yeah.
Yes, of course. Emily, are you a hacker? Who is Emily? Tell us
Am
about
I
you.
a hacker? I mean, I think that the good part about this hackathon is that they were really clear in the instructions saying that you don't actually need to be a developer to be a hacker and take part in the hackathon because I'm not a developer in that sense. I'm a communications consultant. I've been working with communications for the past 10 years, but I'm a gig worker. So I've been running my own company for 10 years. And of course, I know a lot of challenges that people like me, people that run their own businesses, face in times like this because the coronavirus has really turned everything upside down and people are unsure when it comes to clients, work, what will even happen next week, really. And besides working as a communications consultant, I'm also one of the co founders of a network called Svenska Nomader or Swedish Nomads, which is actually Sweden's largest community for digital nomads and remote workers. So, taking part in Hack the Crisis, which now was a totally remote event, of course, made a lot of sense to me. So, I'm super happy that I was able to take part and also the team that I took part with. Which was spread across Stockholm, Frankfurt in Germany, and Pajala up north of the Arctic Circle, really. So it was a really cool experience.
Wow, that's amazing, Emily. It sounds really inspirational. Tell me why you decided to join. I mean, it was during the weekend, and if I understand correctly, you have a beautiful baby. So why you decided to put off much of your time in this?
I mean, I've been following Hack for Sweden for a while, and I haven't actually been able to take part in one of the physical events before. But I've really enjoyed looking up what they've been doing, the ideas people have been sharing, the different results that have come out of it. And now this year, because the event was remote, and because, as I was saying, everything with the coronavirus, it affects me too. It affects so many people in my surroundings. It just felt like an amazing opportunity to actually take part because even though we have our baby, we were actually able to take part in it from home and from, I mean, when we were discussing with our team and so on, I was out walking with a stroller with the baby. So we were kind of able to combine those two things. And no, it felt like an important cause, definitely. Plus, being a totally remote hackathon, and since I'm really interested in remote work in general, I really felt that I wanted to take part in it and just see what would actually happen.
Yeah, so you are looking both for like what is a hackathon and to be part of a hackathon, but also of this remotely working or team working.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
How did you find your team members? Oh,
Well, I mean, my team members, one of my team members is my husband, so he wasn't that hard to find. He's here at
You
home with
already
me.
already found him.
Yes, I already found him beforehand. And so that was great. And then it was actually his sister and her husband as well. And they live in Frankfurt. So we got that perspective. And then Linnea Huta, who is the girl from Pajala, that was part of our team as well. We've actually met once or twice in person this past year, but we were also in contact online. So when she saw that we were actually taking part as a team when we started posting about it back on Friday, she reached out and asked if she could join as well with her perspective. So that's how the five of us came
Yeah.
together,
So
basically.
you already found your team members, and but did you decide what is the idea that you're gonna work with, or you just completely walk to the hackathon?
No, we just completely walked to the hackathon without actually knowing what we were going to solve. We weren't even sure which challenge we were aiming at solving. We were somehow thinking that probably with our skill set, it would be difficult for us to contribute to the Save Lives track, but we weren't sure whether or not we'd want to persuade doing something with Save Businesses or saving communities. But as we were like going through this whole process. I mean, we started out back on Friday. We were watching the opening ceremony together, kind of, because we were online on Skype at the same time. So we saw that we were watching all of us together. But then we started brainstorming. I mean, for the whole process, I don't know if you could say that we kind of had a simplified design thinking approach to it. So we started off just ideating the five of us separately, and we used the Trello board basically to just pin up different ideas and again, not like saying that it should be about businesses or communities, just saying that, okay, what different problems are there that we see right now in our surroundings? And also, what different skill sets do we actually have that could be used to help solve some kind of challenge? And then come Saturday morning, Saturday before lunch, we had our first like call that day, and we started going over the ideas. We were discussing them back and forth, and we actually landed in a totally different idea to begin with. But upon doing different research on it, we kind of figured out that it would be too difficult to implement in just these 2 months,
Yeah,
which is part of like the criteria for this hackathon. It's supposed to be something that's realistic to implement in just 2 months.
exactly.
So we started going over everything again. We were using Trello. We were using the Slack channel that was provided by Hack for Sweden to discuss there. And then we had a shared Google Drive document also. So we were writing down different ideas and trying to formulate it the best way possible. But it wasn't before Sunday morning that we actually landed in the idea that we had. And upon researching it, we felt that it would actually be an idea that would be possible to implement. So I guess we'll see now
Yes.
what happens.
So, well, that's actually because this episode I am also thinking that people who want to participate in hackathon, they will get some of your experience and get inspired. So it's good that you're describing the method or how the way you work. So the hackathon was 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. So you
Yeah.
spent all this Saturday on brainstorming and mapping the skills of your team and what you want actually to do. But then Sunday was the decision, okay, how to move to the next.
Yes, definitely. I mean, we thought we reached that decision already on Saturday, but again, upon doing the actual research on the first idea we had, we kind of needed to go back in the loop and go back to the ideas and realize that no, maybe we need to make something that's a bit more simple, that's a bit more clear, so it's more realistic. So definitely on Sunday morning, we kind of landed in the idea we had, and then we took turns working remotely on the presentation with the idea. So we did everything through Google Drive. So we had a Google Docs where we wrote down all the answers to the different questions, and then we did our presentation in Google Presentation as well, so we could all work on it in parallel, really. And then after everyone had added different ideas, we went in, we had a discussion again over Skype, and then we kind of refined the idea before feeling that we were ready to really hand it in. So it worked good, the whole
Yeah.
collaboration, actually.
Well, that's really amazing. And one day you could like put together your ideas and also build up a good story and presentation and submit it in time. In Slack, the application we use, I was a mentor, and there were 200 mentors as well, and there were more than, I think, 7,000 hackers. How did you reach out to the mentors, and did you had any strategies, or was it just like randomly, okay, we need some push, we need some motivation, let's reach out to a mentor?
To be honest, we didn't actually reach out directly to a mentor, but we did keep track of what everyone was saying in the different channels all the time. So I think that on Slack, I was part of maybe 10 different boards just to like read what people were saying, what they were discussing, what problems, what challenges people had, and different like tips in general and motivational posts that different mentors were posting. So that did get like fuel the whole process a lot for us, because it really felt like we were part of something bigger. It wasn't just the five of us sitting and talking on Skype. We were actually part of this whole movement of over 7,000 people, I think it was in the end, that actually took part in Hack the Crisis. So even though we didn't reach out to a mentor in person, it definitely meant a lot for us just to be able to take part of the energy and all the ideas and the motivation that was flowing through these channels. And I think like for all of us, some of us, this was the first hackathon that we attended. I have attended hackathons in the past and actually even been part of hosting a hackathon myself before. But for us, it was such like, it was a big learning experience as well. So we were trying to put all the pieces together and kind of learn as we were going along. So definitely, if we're a part of a hackathon next time, which we're already discussing now, that of course we should be because it was such a great experience, then we will definitely utilize in a different way the different mentors. But now I think that the positive thing is that because our idea was one of the 6 ideas that actually went on to win one of the categories, that we will actually get more like input and mentorship to help us implement this idea if it is implemented. But I guess that we'll really be able to take part in that whole part now to see what kind of input we can actually get from the
Yeah,
outside as well.
yeah. Well, I totally agree with you about the hackathon because I also participated in a hackathon. I won a hackathon and also I organized a hackathon. The
Mm.
time you enter a hackathon atmosphere, you cannot just walk out, and it's become like I will not call it an illness, but it's come like it's something that you have to do because you just love it. The atmosphere,
Yeah.
the energy from the people, and then this community that you feel you're part of a big solution. So, Emily, what is the idea?
Our idea, I mean, like I was saying, it needed to be something that was simple enough to be able to be implemented in just these 2 months, but that should still have impact somehow on businesses in this case. So our idea is actually an answer to the Swedish Public Employment Centers or Services question that they posted on the site. It was a challenge saying, how will we actually be able to match the skills of people that are out of work today with companies that might need them? So in all, I mean, our idea is about using Platsbanken, which is the Swedish Public Employment Services job post board that's already out there, but actually adding the possibility to add remote work on Platsbanken, because today a lot of the jobs or all the jobs are somehow connected to a specific place in Sweden. But seeing now, because of the coronavirus, how many people are working from home, how many people are working remotely, we think that it should definitely be possible to also add different jobs that are remote, because right now it would be possible to source skills and find people all across the
Yeah.
country if a company needs
But
specific skills.
in Platsbanken, all jobs are like you need to be there physically.
It's not that you need to be there physically, it's just that they are actually connected to a place as it
Mm.
is. Or there's also one that says that this is not connected to a specific place, but it's not like a remote button in itself. So it's not that clear for people looking for a remote job exactly how to go about finding that. So that's one of the things that we proposed, actually adding this remote button to make it really clear for both companies that are like looking for skills and don't care where in the country they're
Yeah.
from, but also for people that have these skills that may have been laid off or that may be gig workers to begin with, for them to actually be able to find a match with different jobs across the country that they might not have come in contact with otherwise, because the company in itself offering the job might not be based in the same city as they are. And also the second part of it was that looking at the type of employment, where when you post a job, you say that if it's a full-time employment, if it's a half-time employment, if it's project employment. But our second proposal was to actually add a gig button. So it's more tied to the gig economy, saying that this is not like a long ongoing job. It might just be like a quick thing that someone needs help with.
Yeah.
So let's say right now there are a lot of companies that might be experiencing that they need to somehow make their businesses more digital to make them better answer to the different challenges out in society right now that have been caused by the coronavirus and the state that the whole country is in. So maybe people are looking to look into becoming more e-commerce friendly. Maybe you need to find e-commerce skills, you might need to find a UX designer, you might need to
Mm.
find a developer.
Mm.
So it will be easier for those companies then to post a job saying that we're looking for someone remotely and this is a gig, so we just need this person for a specific thing.
Yeah, a mission, a
Yes,
temporary job.
exactly. And the same thing, it might also be like connected to other industries. So it might be someone looking for financial help with something, of course. It could be someone looking for a teacher. Let's say that a school in the north of Sweden, that their teachers are out and they are sick and they have two little people supporting people now. And a lot of the schools right now are doing remote teaching as well. So maybe it would be possible to source teaching skills from a different part of Sweden to support a specific school somewhere else in the country. So, I mean, our solution in that sense is quite, I mean, it's quite straightforward. It's about adding two new functions to Platsbanken, which I do think would be possible to implement. And we'll see if it actually happens, but it could. And if it did happen, I'm sure that it would actually be a possibility to support both companies and businesses, but also individuals that might have been affected and be out of work right now because of the whole crisis that we're part of.
Well, to be honest, like it's so easy to understand your proposal. I think that's why you won as well, the
Maybe,
hackathon,
maybe.
because it's super clear and super functional, and also the approach is really great. So how are you going to do it now? What is the you're
Next
done, you
step.
present exactly what is the next step? Did you get in touch with any developers or with Platsbanken?
We haven't been in contact with them yet. I mean, the process, this is still just 2 days ago that the whole hackathon ended. So we've just been contacted about us winning, and then that we'll soon get in touch with different mentors and partners to actually see how this can be implemented. But I'm assuming that we will get in touch with the public or the Swedish Public Employment Service and somehow discuss the idea with them to see if it's feasible or not. So I can't really say too much about the future yet because we don't know yet exactly what is going to happen. But both me and the rest of the team, which is me, Fredrik Lundberg, Emma Lundberg, Andreas Trivjevski, and Linnea Hota, we're all, of course, really happy to, in any way we can, support to make the solution be implemented. Even though, as this was a concept that we presented, it is the concept that we can somehow help to develop and keep on thinking about. So I hope that somehow this might at least be part of like a seed to maybe making some improvements on Platsbanken to better support this whole situation that we're in. But yeah, I guess we'll need to wait and see what
Yeah,
happens. But
yeah,
it would be really amazing if that was something that could be implemented and if it could actually help people, because then we definitely feel that our participation this weekend would have been worth so much.
yeah.
So if we're able to help, we'll be super happy.
Yeah, I think it's going to be implemented because, as you mentioned, also it's not that complex to implement it. So hopefully, it's going to be implemented, and this going to really contribute to save businesses and the community as well. I was wondering, like, what do you think in general are because in order that people, individuals sign into these jobs, we need the businesses to put the offer. or to publish. So what do you think? Are the businesses ready to take this step and say, okay, we need someone to help us to doing this? Are they that quick?
I think that they are. I mean, I think that, as I was saying, I'm a co-founder of Svenska Nomader, and I've been looking into the remote working field for the past 3 years and trying kind of following how that has developed in Sweden. And both me and my two co-founders, Jasmine Morrison and Christopher Persson, we've been talking with a lot of businesses, with a lot of companies, and really seeing how a lot of them are easing into a more open approach to seeing that remote work is actually possible. And also, I mean, with the gig economy, that's also something that I've been looking into for the past couple of years and speaking a lot with companies about. So I think that seeing as the situation we're in right now, a lot of companies were saying before that remote work wasn't possible for them, but now we're in a situation where we're kind of experiencing the biggest ever experiment for remote work because companies have been forced into it. And that kind of proves that it is possible for a lot of companies with the digital tools that are out there today to actually convert and keep on operating more or less as normal, but doing that through different digital tools, through virtual meetings, and so on. So because a lot of companies are already forced into working remotely right now, I think that they've seen that it works. And when it comes to the gig economy and actually taking in people as gig workers as opposed to employing someone, I also think that because the situation is so uncertain right now, that it might actually feel like a smaller risk for someone to take on a gig worker and to work with them on a couple of projects and get to know each other that way. And maybe it could turn into like a really long term relationship, of course. But I think that even though the gig economy has been there for a while, remote working has been possible for a while, but the situation right now is somehow proving that it is possible to make things work. So I think that companies will be more open to remote work and gig workers today than they would have been just 2 months ago because they've already started seeing that it does work.
Yeah. Wow, that's a huge step.
Yes.
That's that's really, which is also good in some way. But do you think if we hope for the best and when Corona is gone somehow, do you think businesses are going to continue with remotely working, or they will be back? Because I was doing so many interviews with other
Mm,
like guests, and they say, okay, we human, we have so easy to forget what's happening, and we just go back
to
to how
old
we,
routines.
yeah. So what do you think?
I think that this will actually be the start of remote work becoming more accepted at a lot of organizations because it's been proven now. I'm not saying that it works flawlessly everywhere, but of course, I know from talking with a lot of people that it does work at a lot of companies and organizations today, and it works better than what many people were expecting it to work. So I actually do believe that we will see a more open state of mind when it comes to remote working because we've proven now that it does work. And on the positive side, I think that a lot of people have mentioned, I mean, I've seen a lot of people writing on LinkedIn that they realize now that they become more productive when they work from
Yes.
home, that they meetings are better because you can have like a 30-minute meeting and reach the same types of decisions that maybe took 1 or 1.5 or even 2 hours before. So people come into these new routines and they feel that for some work anyway, it works really well. Maybe it even works better than meeting in person. So I think that we'll keep that mindset somehow because it really proves now. And also, I think that, like with the different employers, that if the employees like working remotely and they've proven now that they can, maybe it's difficult to pull that back altogether, actually. But on another positive side, I think for the climate now that we've really proven that we don't actually need to commute to work every day. We actually don't need to go to a specific place, a different city, a different country to be part of a conference, to be part of a meeting. I mean, we were just part of a hackathon with 7,000 people without meeting, where we're sitting all across Sweden and actually with people from all across the world. we don't actually need to meet in person as much as we do. It is possible to collaborate and to make real impact without actually meeting in person. So for the sake of the climate, and also I think for the sake of people that might feel stressed from commuting a lot, or that feel now that they're able to like be more with family because they don't need to sit on a bus 1 hour to and from work every day and so on, that it would be something positive if remote working was actually more accepted going forward.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting reflection talking about family. How do you manage working from home and you have a beautiful little cute baby? Because I'm hearing a lot from my colleagues and
Yeah.
other friends like, oh, it's impossible to work from home. Like maybe because we are so new to this situation and later we're gonna master this, or what
Yeah.
do you have any advices, or what is your reflection about working from home?
I could say that, I mean, I've been working personally, I've been working from home a lot for the past 9 years, and my baby now is 10 months old. And I mean, I can agree, this is more challenging than I could ever have imagined to be both, I mean, home, both me and my husband and the baby at the same time. So we really need to find routines in who is responsible for her and who works when. It's really difficult if the idea is for both of us to work at the same time because, I mean, she's 10 months old. She can't take care of
Yeah,
herself. We need to be with her. So I think that, I mean, good tips is to, first of all, like develop some type of routine, especially if you're two people at home and you have one or more kids, that you decide that one person is the most responsible for the child. I mean, in our case, it's extreme because she's so small, but let's say you have older children that are also at home, that you take turns being the number one responsible person. So, like for instance, before lunch now, I can focus 100% on my work, and then after lunch, we'll switch and so on. So, at least you can get into the mindset of being 100% focused. And then I also think that it's important to develop some place in the home where you can actually sit and have as a dedicated workspace, because that also means that when you go and sit in front of the computer in that chair, it somehow feels like you're getting into the mood more of actually working. I've also, I mean, it's still possible in Sweden right now to go out for walks, and the weather is really nice. So, if possible, when you have meetings, take them on a walk outside because it's good for you to get the fresh air. It clears your mind, and also it might help you to become more concentrated when you're actually not surrounded by your partner if you have one, and your kids if you have them as well. But I also think that in general, our expectations, I mean, it's not like you are the only person sitting at home struggling with trying to balance work and having a family right now. So I think that we should all be a bit, I mean, open to and just honest, saying that it is hard. It's really difficult to make it work with kids and being at home, both of you, and just trying to make that work. And I think that the expectations that other people have as well will be the same. So, to be honest, I mean, I read someone saying that this is the first time that I ever feel that it's okay to say, "Excuse me, my baby is crying in the background." Because now everyone is part of this. Everyone understands that it is more difficult to make it work. So, just being open to that, and I mean, being honest to yourself, I think that, I mean, it's not a perfect situation that we're in at all, but if you try not to stress too much about it and you're honest with the whole situation, I think that others will understand, and that you can be more accepting of yourself as well and how you
yeah,
function.
yeah. As you mentioned, it's not the perfect situation, but I believe also this situation made us like more human being,
Yeah.
like showing more respect, being more open that okay, there is a kid, so the kids cry as well, and it's not something wrong. So yeah, some parts. Okay, I hate Corona, but some part of this virus made us like more human being and connected us to each other, which is really great in my opinion.
Yeah, which is also cool because, as you're saying, yeah, we do feel more connected because we're all in this boat together. And it's also, in a way, cool, even though it's under such horrible circumstances, but that we feel more connected even though we're actually not meeting in person. So we're creating this connection even though it's all happening remotely, which again goes to prove that today, with the technology that we have, it is actually possible to connect, to get to know people, to collaborate with people, to understand, and I mean, have a laugh, have a cry, or whatever it might
Yes.
be with people, even though we're not meeting in person.
Yeah, that's completely true. And also, I noticed, or I did a like a cool trick because when there was no corona, I commuted to my job and took me 1 hour total.
Mm.
So, but now I have plus 1 hour without anything. So I
Yeah.
decide that I meet one new person every day and talk
Oh.
to and get to know. So I'm really, this is a really fantastic story. Uh, So, if I ask you like a question from my side about urban planning,
Hmm.
so if we see that business is willing to pay for people to work remotely, and many people would love or maybe can work remotely, how does this affect like the offices? Because gonna be less people willing to go to offices, and then we have. What's your reflection about it?
My reflection is, and like I've been saying, I've of course been looking at these questions for the past 3 years through Svenska Nomader, so it's not something that just hit my mind
Pop up,
now. But
yeah.
I mean, we've been seeing how co-working spaces have been growing these past years. I mean, there's been an explosion of co-working spaces in Stockholm for the past 5 years. The same goes for other big cities in Sweden. And we're also starting to see more and more collaborative spaces like this open in smaller cities around Sweden. But I think that a lot of the co-working spaces today, they're actually still based inside the city center. And that, of course, also entails that people need to commute to get there. But I think that going forward, that we'll see when we're planning cities, that we'll have different types of co-working spaces that are actually more like satellite hubs based in areas where people live. So it might be like in a suburb somewhere, it might be next to the grocery store, it might be like in areas where you don't usually see businesses, but that you'll open up different types of spaces where people can just go in, have a membership, sit down, be focused on work, have a coffee. And then we'll see different types of solutions where you definitely have all the technology, you have the broadband, you still have the IT security because it's like a secure space where it's made for working. And you'll still get that kind of social interaction with other coworkers that are there, and your company would still be confident that you are somehow at work because you're in an
Yes.
office, even though it's not your normal office. And you'd still be secure in a way that they'd, of course, need to secure that the Wi-Fi connection and everything can't be somehow damaged by different cyber attacks and so on. So they'd need to be really, really secure with the whole cybersecurity around everything. But I do think that we'll see more co-working spaces being built in smaller cities, in suburbs, in residential areas, and that will somehow be part of the answer to what the workplace of tomorrow will look like. And I mean, it doesn't take longer. Of course, now the commuter trains in the morning are kind of empty in Stockholm, but just going 2 months back, it's so crowded. People really like stand on top of each other just to get somewhere, to get to an office. And just looking at like the traffic with the cars that are out on the roads, and people are standing in queues for an hour or 2 hours to get to and from work in the morning and afternoon. If we were actually only able to work remotely maybe 1 or 2 or 3 days a week, and we could somehow have a system for when people move and when people need to commute and when they work closer to home, I think that that would be better. As you were saying, you have 1 more hour every day now to spend doing something else. And so it will be better for people, for their stress levels, for being able to fill their lives with something else. But it would also be better for the climate in a sense that we wouldn't need as much traffic on the roads.
Mm.
So I'd say that that would be a solution that I believe in a lot for the future.
Yeah, very, very interesting point of view because back in the podcast, like in the early episode, I had a talk with a coworker Langer, and they
Mm-hmm.
had a co-working space, the Park Sodra,
Oh, yeah.
and it was very interesting. We were talking about like the co-working space now and the co-working space 2.0, like the future
Yes.
one, and also we mentioned that it's gonna be more than not in the inner city, like more in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Do you believe that how to say landowners or retail owners are open for this idea to open like a mini co-working space in different suburbs?
I'd say so, definitely. I mean, I don't know what they would have to lose doing that. And also, let's say if it is actually people that are employed somewhere, that these different co-working spaces have different types of corporate membership. So it's not actually the individual that pays for it. Well, maybe I would because I'm a gig worker, but people that are employed somewhere, that these different, maybe they all these co-working spaces are part of some type of satellite network, and a corporation could sign up with one of them, and then their employees could utilize these different spaces. And then I think that the landowners or the people that have these different retail spaces, that they would also feel secure because they have big companies that come in and pay the memberships every month. And of course, it's not like, it might be difficult to implement today, and of course it will take some getting used to. But again, maybe everything that's happening now with corona and remote working, that this will somehow push the whole like process towards where I think that we were going anywhere or anyway, and that we'll see that this is implemented quicker than it would actually have been with this virus not have affected society as much as it's actually unfortunately doing
Yeah,
right now.
yeah. Interesting. Future is always interesting, especially now with all digitalization and
Yeah.
the new mindset for businesses and the employees. So, well, Emily, I will not take so much of your time. And now I would love to divide last two questions to two parts. First part is that three takeaway messages to the people participating in hackathon, like what you have advices, so how they can move on in the hackathon and maybe also win as well. And also three takeaway messages how to save businesses.
Okay, so for people collaborating or being part of a hackathon, I think that number one, remember that it's all about collaboration. It's amazing how many people come in and actually decide, like in this case, it was people that took 2 days out of their weekend to just go in, collaborate together, and try to make something good for society. So really like take in that whole openness and realize that it is possible to collaborate with people that you've never met before. I mean, I know a lot of people that went into the hackathon and became parts of teams with people that they had no contact with before at all. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, hackathon is really an opportunity to go in and learn and collaborate with people that you might not come in contact with before. Number two, I think that it's really great if you find a team with people that have really diverse skills and backgrounds, so that you become like an interdisciplinary team with people with different skill sets, experiences, with different points of views, because you'll challenge your own beliefs and you'll challenge what you think is possible, the way you even view a problem. So really take that opportunity to be part of something and learn from people that you might again not come in contact with before, and that you might never have an opportunity to work with in other cases, and see what kind of solution you can come up with. And I guess number three, don't really have a set idea for this is exactly what I want our final solution to look like, but keep it more fluid. Think of it more like a process and be open to the idea that you might start off somewhere with an idea that's going from here to the moon, but then you end up having a plan on building a house on Pluto instead. So it might be something completely different from what you thought from the very beginning, but that's the beauty of it. You learn so much from the process, and by going over these ideas with other people, I mean, probably the solution will be 10 times better than it would have been if you were just sitting alone and you just went with your first idea. Just let this whole process be something that guides you through the whole hackathon process. So, and I mean, if I had a fourth tip, it would definitely be take part of a hackathon. I mean, spend that time doing this. Take that time out of your weekend or evening or whatever it might be, because it means a lot to you as a person. You grow a lot from being part of a hackathon, but also it's such an amazing feeling if it's for a cause that you really burn for and that you feel a lot for, to actually be able to go out there and somehow feel that what you're doing can create an impact. It can help people. So definitely just take the chance if you're able to do it.
You know what? These four takeaway messages should be on Hack for Sweden homepage, like before you
Maybe.
before before you start the hackathon. Super. And now I would love to hear your three takeaway messages for saving businesses, especially now in coronavirus time.
I mean, for saving businesses, it's difficult because we're right now in a situation that's so uncertain and people don't really know what's going to happen next. I was saying in the beginning, I have my own business as well, and I don't know what's going to happen next week. But I think that my number one thing, it will be again about collaboration. I think that understanding that we are a lot of people that are in the same situation, and instead of just sitting alone and not knowing what to do, reach out to other people that might work in similar fields as you do, or that might be in similar situations as you are, and discuss things together, to not go crazy on your own. Just discuss things, maybe come up with ideas together, maybe find different new ways of collaborating, and like just go with those ideas to build a team and find your tribe, as it's so often called, because you feel stronger when you are together than if you're just alone, especially if you as a business is just one person. Number two, I think that somehow be open to the fact that we are in a totally different situation, and the things that might be true normally in your business might need to be questioned and somehow switched around and flipped over, because we need to find new ways to make things work today. Remote work is one of those things. I mean, I think that a lot of companies have proven to themselves now that it does work to work remotely, and that's something that you need to be open to, that things are changing, and instead of just sticking to old routines, be open to the fact that you might need to rethink the way you do business today. And number three, I know that a lot of businesses are losing clients, that they might have less things to do. Maybe this is also a very difficult time to actually find new clients, and it might even be impossible for many. So instead of just sitting around and feeling sad about that, think of this as an opportunity to really go over the business you have, the business strategy you have, start planning for what you can do to come out of this even stronger. And once this virus situation hopefully calms down, maybe it will be after the summer, that you have a plan for how to get back up on your feet again and really start to implementing this new strategy that you might have. That might involve you taking an online course in something. It might involve the whole team getting together and start workshopping about what your core business is all about. It might be about starting to develop a whole new like business area, because you're realizing now that there are things that you could be doing that you haven't been offering before, but that you can start to offer now. So don't just waste the time and feel sad. Rather, think about the whole situation and take this time to really do all those things that you might have needed to be doing anyway, and rethink your business, rethink your business strategy, and reskill, learn new things, because it's never a bad opportunity to learn new things. And this might be the first time in a long time that you can actually sit down and just learn something new. So take that chance.
Yeah, well, very positive energy, very promising. It's all about being creative and push it and take the next step.
Yeah, and hopefully, and I mean, saying all that, I of course understand that this is a super difficult time for a lot of people. So it's not, I mean, it's about trying to stay positive, but then of course also realizing the seriousness in the situation. And a lot of businesses will unfortunately not survive this, but I think that we will all somehow still come out stronger on the other side. And I'm hoping that people at least somehow take an opportunity to learn something from this that might make them even more resilient to being part of a new pandemic in the future. So hopefully everyone will somehow at least try and find something positive in it, even though it is a really, really difficult time right now.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Let's hope for the best. And again, thank you so much for giving your time for this interview,
Thank you.
and congratulations again for
Thank you
winning.
so much. Thank you
Uh,
so much. And I'd again like to say thank you to my team. I mean, without them, we wouldn't have been able to do this. And I'm just blown away by the fact that the five of us actually just sat down together and came up with this idea, even though we were spread all over the world almost, as we were saying. But It was such a great experience. And also, again, thank you to the organizers of Hack the Crisis. I'm so happy to have been taken part of this, and I'm blown away by all the hackers' engagement during these 2 days. It was amazing.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, and hopefully hear from you again and when your proposal is implemented and we see the big impact that you're going to
Yeah,
have on saving businesses.
we hope so. We hope so.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. Please follow on LinkedIn, Instagram, and subscribe the YouTube channel. If you have any great story to tell about city development, just contact me and we will be in touch. I am Mustafa Sharif. Have a good life.